Welcome to Wizards Institute, the #1 community to learn smart investing and financial independence.
Our guest today is Caio Andrade. Caio is a serial entrepreneur who has started and exited a handful of companies, each worth more than 8 figures US dollars. He is a successful investor in multiple asset classes, including technology, real estate, and agriculture. Caio is now leading Brazil's digital transformation as president of SERPRO, a $3 billion US dollar organization with over 10,000 staff members. We will learn what drives Caio's investment philosophy and entrepreneurialism, and we'll also hear his perspective on Brazil and Latin America's investment opportunities and their role in the future of the global economy.
And so it's starting recording. The participants will type in questions as they come in. Caio, so I'll start. I'll just give a quick background in terms of what this is for the folks that are here, and then maybe in 3-5 minutes we'll dig into really the show is about you. So this is primarily a research project, Caio, for the book that we're writing called Investor's Bible: The 10 Commandments to Financial Freedom, or the 10 Commandments to investing. And the idea is that we have, by the time we're done with the book, we would have research and or interview at least 100 of the most famous, successful investors and entrepreneur investors, which is yourself. And the idea in different parts of the world. We've done a few for China. We've done quite a bit in the States, but you're the first in your part of the region. So we're excited. So the idea is really, how do successful entrepreneurs and investors think? What are the sort of the common themes that are surfacing that we're now calling the 10 Commandments, right? So this interview will be recorded. There'll be a YouTube that will show this. We'll also make this into an audio podcast. Some of our audience like to do the audio, and we'll also do a blog, so that essentially, hopefully, we'll share the key learnings, and then the most important points would be included into the book as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. So I'm gonna just go ahead and start. We talked about, yes. Go ahead.
What is the time frame for the conversation? How long are you expecting?
Yeah. So we typically go at least an hour, Caio. And the front part, maybe 40-45 minutes. I prepared, as you know, a bunch of questions. Okay. The audience will type the questions just so we won't be interrupted. And towards the end, we may open it up. If there seems to be good discussion, which I think we will, we can hopefully go for a bit longer, beyond the 1 hour. So hopefully we dive a bit deeper than the normal 5-minute, 3-minute TV interview that you do.
Let's go.
All right. So let's start. So I was looking at my notes, Caio, in LinkedIn. It's been 22 years. Denver, 98.
Exactly.
Is that amazing?
Amazing.
So for the audience, Caio and I were business school executive MBA class together at Duke Fuqua, class of 98. Caio did graduate, and back then he looked like a high school kid. Now he looks like a president or chairman. I did not graduate, Caio. I'm not sure if you knew that. I ended up not graduating from Duke, but I met you. So let's start with your background, Caio, because your background is just amazing. The handful of companies in tech, in real estate, and ag that you started and sold for, I think the lowest value one is 20-something million. Tell us about that, and then please tell us about what you're doing today, and then we'll dig into Brazil and the investment opportunities there.
Sure. As I'm sure the audience knows, the smart people at business school, they drop before they graduate because they need to work and make lots of money, like Sam, like Steve.
Okay.
So I'm a sociologist. That's my background, communication, and I worked for a while as an advertising copywriter in my previous life. I had many previous lives, and then I'm also a musician, and I went to study music at Berklee's College of Music in Boston. And at the same time, I did a postgrad program at Harvard University in 1992. The important thing about 1992 is that that was the year that the internet was booming in the US. CompuServe and Netscape, these things that we don't remember anymore. The internet service providers were there. And so when I came back to Brazil in 1993, I was crazy about doing something on the internet, but there was no internet in Brazil. So I joined the community of BBSs, bulletin board systems. And eventually, many bulletin board systems became internet service providers. And I was at the scene, the very good scene of, I knew everybody in the business. And what happened is when I met Ang, we went to Duke University together. And there at Duke, I met Nadir Desai, who was the president of PSINet in Canada.
In Toronto.
In Toronto, exactly. And Nadir, who unfortunately is not with us anymore, Nadir told me of the plans, and I went to, I met with Bill Schrader, the CEO, Pitt Wills, the COO of the company, PSINet. PSINet at that point was the largest internet service provider in the world, corporate provider. The first data centers that were built in the world were built by PSINet. So I was at the very beginning, I knew everybody, and I pretty much did a rollout of companies, right? I had one internet service provider. I roll out other companies, and I sold those companies, including my company, to PSINet. At that moment, I made my first, my first good money, I would say, which is the one that you mentioned, $28 million. Because of that, I start up my own, I would say my own, it's not a venture capital, it's more like a company builder kind of company. It's a holding company called WebForce Investments at that point. This is year 2000, right? So in 2000, so my company is 20 years old now. This company, WebForce, immediately we produced a web service called HPG, which is Homepage Grátis. In Portuguese, it's called Free Homepage, which was pretty much the same model of GeoCities. GeoCities was huge in the US. I pretty much understood the model and did a kind of copycat to Brazil. And at that moment, the company became the largest audience of Brazil on the internet. And I sold that company in 2003, and then it was 55 million, right? Good money. The group that acquired HPG had a very strict non-compete rule, and I could not do internet for 5 years. I was out of the internet for 5 years. So from 2003 to 2008, I couldn't do anything on the internet.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, but I was happy. I was happy because I had made money. So, and then I start my real estate business. And my real estate business, I was at the same time, a big agency for real estate brokers. And I am a developer, right, of real estate projects as an investor, not as the lead position, but as an investor. So, but my company, the company that I built from 2004 to 2010 became the best and the largest a real estate brokerage firm in São Paulo. And that company was acquired in 2010 by the biggest company in Brazil. The three companies that I sold, they were sold to listed companies, right? Listed companies. I built them, and I did not become an acquirer. I was acquired by everyone. So this company paid pretty much like something between 85. We still have some money to get, 85 million. Okay, good. So This is 2010. Now I came back to the internet in 2008, and I built a very similar product to Zillow. I'm sure you in the US, you know Zillow. So very similar to Zillow. That company is still mine, and it's very located, it's very São Paulo. It's a company in São Paulo. In 2014, beginning of 2014, I moved into another business. So now I have digital businesses, I have real estate businesses, and I moved into agriculture. Actually, I acquired a land bank from a company that maybe you know called Bunge, which is one of the largest trading company in the world.
Yes.
And yeah, and Bunge sold me this portfolio of 44 farms. So I'm the happy owner of 52,000 hectares of farms in Brazil. Some of them developed. So I'm not a producer myself. I'm not a farmer, but I have the land and I lease the land, right? And some of the farms are still not developed. So we go through the process of licensing and maybe getting the license to move into that area. In 2016, I start up another 3 businesses, digital businesses that I have. One is a credit originated company for real estate. If people want to buy an apartment, for example, I find them good finance for them. Sometimes I use my own money in a fund to structure and to, to canalize the money for people who want to buy, pretty much like home equity, right?
Yep.
I have another business, which is, I'm not sure if you know, do you know Redfin? Redfin?
Yes.
Pretty much like Redfin, which is doing very well. We have 3,800 brokers in the system, and it's going like this. It's very interesting. Unfortunately, COVID is a bad thing, but I have to tell you that COVID is helping me with that business because people are, it's unfortunately. And then I have another one, which is called Terra Logs. Very interesting. Terra Logs is a credit company for farmers. Terra Logs, it's similar to what Farmer Business Network does, right? So those are the companies that I have now. And in November 2018, I was in New York. I was talking to partners to raise money because I don't have enough money to finance farmers. Farmers are, very capital intensive. So I don't have enough money. So I was talking to, investors to convince them to give me money so I could lend money to the farmers in Brazil. I received a telephone call from Paulo Guedes. Paulo Guedes, he was in the, just to tell you, I've never been involved in politics in my entire life. I've never been to Brasilia. Brasilia is the capital of Brazil. I've never been to Brasilia before. And Paulo Guedes called me and he says, Caio, we are here and people are talking to me about the digital transformation of, he's the minister of the economy in Brazil. And he called me and said, we are talking about the digital transformation of the federal government. Can you please come here and help me to, to understand what's going on? I said, of course, Paulo, I will. And so I came to Brasilia and I spent like 2 days there learning about what was going on in the digital transformation and all the programs that the Brazilian government had. And at the end of the 2 days, I said, listen, this is my list of recommendations. I recommend you to do this and this and this and this and that. And he said, okay, I accept all your recommendations and you're hired. You have to come and work for me in the government. So I was at the same time very shocked, but at the same time very happy to serve my country. Very proud to be part of this team that is changing Brazil. I don't want to go through politics, but there is a real sense of urgency to transform the state, because the state, in our opinion, is too big. Too big. It has to be smaller. It has to be less bureaucratic. It has to be more efficient. It has to look at the citizen in a way that the citizen deserves, because he pays taxes. Brazil is a very unfair country, and we believe that this is one of the ways to make Brazil more just, more fair. So there is a company called SERPRO. It's a 3.6 billion company, 9,500 employees. We have offices in 11 big offices of development in 11 states. This company pretty much runs the entire IRS in Brazil. So every money that the government receives, the treasurer is here, it runs here. The issue of passports, every single document goes through here. The entire social system goes through here. The import-export data is in here. So this is a big platform to do two things, right? It's a big platform to help or speed up the digital transformation of Brazil, in one sense, and in the other sense, it's a very good platform to cross data and raise evidence that is going to make better public policies, right? This is pretty much a modern, very modern way to manage a country and its, different policies. I'm very happy here. My companies are doing very well. I had to step out of all of them. Because of the Brazilian rules and governance, I cannot be a director in any of them, but I can be a partner, so I'm still a partner. I have professionals taking care of this, and I'm here. I received the call. I accept the call. I am very happy because I'm learning a lot. I'm driving by learning. And because I'm making also very good relationships that I'm sure they will, last forever. So this is the consequence of having time and, disposition to help my country. I believe we are going to change. So I think that's the small part of it.
Wow. Kyle, what a 22 years, huh? You're putting me to shame. I got to work harder and work smarter like you. But I think your background is really special. You started when I met you with Nadir. You were just a budding young tech entrepreneur, right? You did that really well, and then you moved on to non-tech, which itself is quite unusual, because you could obviously continue with tech and you're successful. It looks like you made money everywhere you touched. Our last speaker was a lady named Kathy Xu. You've been to China a few times. Kathy is the #1 woman Forbes Middleist venture capitalist. I would imagine if you keep doing your tech and what is investing entrepreneur, you would be the Brazilian Middleist guy. But you then pivoted to now primarily full-time, right? To serve your country, really, because SERPRO is not about making money. It's really about changing Brazil.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean,
The salaries are very, it's one of the problems of the Brazilian administration. Salaries are very low compared to, it's difficult to attract good talent because you don't pay good salaries.
okay. So let's talk about SERPRO in Brazil. In Brazil, it's a huge country, right? 200 something million people, almost quarter billion people. I think like China or Europe, is it 26 autonomous states? It's actually very diverse from a governance standpoint. The people are diverse. Why did you choose a government-owned platform to transform the economy as opposed to what we discussed last week, potentially building the next Tencent, the next Alibaba, next Facebook? Which would have a higher impact? And did you review that cost benefit?
Yeah, I think to have those kind of platforms, like let's say Google, Facebook, Tencent, you know, WeChat, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
To have those kind of platforms, you really need a mix of, I believe, three things. You need to have good entrepreneurs, usually linked to some kind of university research center, right?
Yes. Yes.
You need the investors who would take, you know, risks, a venture capital kind of risk, and you need, besides the talents of entrepreneurs, you need to have a good base of employees, of people who are, you know, skilled to work with technology and make things happen. I don't think we have all of those things in Brazil. That's why Brazil is a little late. I think we don't have any platform that we show to the world, and the world pretty much is using our platform. No, we don't have that.
I see. Okay.
So we don't have our WeChat because we use WhatsApp. And so why are we going to, you know, someone will develop. By the time that we finish developing a Brazilian WhatsApp, probably WhatsApp is doing something completely different in the future, because you don't have that kind of energy. You don't have that kind of, you know, ecosystem. By saying that, there are very creative, very interesting products here. I believe in AgTechs, you're going to have a surprise with very nice things, because Brazil is a very potent, very strong agricultural country. To be honest, and at the same time, we have had, since I started in 2020, in my life, I have been through 6 different currencies. 6 different currencies. Maybe 20 different economic plans, macroeconomic plans. We had been to very strong 3 recessions. So it's very hard to, you know, to entrepreneurs to be consistent in Brazil.
I see.
We don't have that kind of, you know, money available. So there is no exit for the Bovespa, which is our stock market. It's not very active when it comes to, you know, startups. We don't have.
I see.
Like this. So it's not as functional as it could be. In the last 5 years, it got much better. But in the last 5 years, I am more like doing things. I've never been, and I'm not a startup type of guy. I just like to make businesses, and I like the digital, and I love the internet. So it's different from that, you know, startup community. So I don't see, probably in the future, we're going to have, one of the reasons that we are doing what we are doing here is exactly to improve doing business in Brazil, to improve our capacity of doing business, to be less bureaucratic, to, at the end of the day, maybe we're going to have a good exit market in the future. So
I see. Okay. So what you're doing now is really focused on building the foundation, the infrastructure, particularly the digital foundation for Brazil to enable more Caios. Is that right? Do you see that as a 5-year job or 20-year job?
I promised 2 years, but I believe I promised 2 years, but I believe I'm so happy with the results. And I see so many things happening so fast that I think I'm going to be here until somebody tells me to go home.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about the region a bit, Kyle. So last summer, I was in South America. I did 6 countries last summer for vacation, but also learning about the region as part of my research. And as you know, I accepted your invitation to supposedly come to Brazil earlier this year, and would have come if not for COVID. But you know, the consistent answer when I talk to business people and investors in the 6 countries, you know, whether it's Ecuador, Colombia, almost everyone says, you know, Brazil has to drive the region because Brazil is the largest. It's just a powerhouse in the region, right? Can you talk about that in terms of where Brazil is in relation to the region, where you see the region, again, / Brazil? You know, if I'm a family office person, let's say I manage a $500 million family office fund, how should I look at Brazil and the region from an allocation standpoint, and why? Should I put 5% there versus China, or should I put 20%? You know, what do you see as a future for the region, and what would drive that?
Well, first, Latin America had been struggling with, you know, this crisis more than anyone else in the world, I believe, besides Africa, that has another structural problems. It's amazing what Asia, Southwest Asia did in the last, you know, 25, 30 years. Amazing. What I see is we need to be more and more, which we're trying to do, friendly to attract capital. I believe there are some barriers. I don't believe, I know that there are some barriers that are pretty much stupid. A country like Chile, which is a lot smaller than Brazil, has better governance, so attracts more investments, percentual speaking, right? Through the population compared to Brazil. We need more, the legal system has to get faster, and we need to be more stable, less government. Companies that had been, you know, committed to Brazil and to Latin America in general, if they learn how to do business here, they make lots of money. The thing is that there is a curve, a learning curve that is, I believe, it's bigger than in other places, because if you're from the US, doing business in Canada is very similar. If you are in the US, doing business in Europe, is in countries like France or maybe countries like England, it's more similar. But when you come to Brazil, it's a lot different. So you need local people, maybe like you need if you go to do business in China. You cannot get into the market in China by yourself. You need a local partner, someone who understands the market, someone who knows how to transit, knows how to transit between private and government. You need that. Governments are very important in these countries. So depending of the, you know, the risk assessment of the manager of those funds, of course, depends of the, I would say that there are 4 sectors that I I would recommend. I think there are 4 sectors that are going to lead this new time for Brazil, new time for Latin America, and probably even with the region risks, deliver very good results. That's what I believe. You just have to be calm, right? You cannot get in and get out. Sometimes you get in, floats in exchange rate. So stay there, wait a little bit, it will come back. So you cannot think short term, or you can think only very short term, but that's like a operator, a day trade, can come buy something that he knows or he understands and then get out. This is different from what I'm talking. I'm talking about the 4 sectors that I believe are going to be excellent for investment. The first is private credit. Credit will explode in Brazil, private credit. The second is the entire digital transformation of the society, because Brazilians are very, very friends with technology, love technology. Brazil has a penetration of 85% of the population has cell phones. It's really big. So digital, it's very promising. And then you have infrastructure. The new regulations for infrastructure in Brazil will allow capital to get in and get out easier. And the projects are going to be as a PPP, right? And, it's public and private sectors together doing something, exploring some kind of technology, some kind of infrastructure. For example, roads, for example, railroads. This is happening right now. Brazil has a very strong program. If you want to know about it, I can send to you. It's open information, it's government information. It's called PPI, which is the PPI, which is the public private investments, right?
Okay.
So concessions that, for example, ports. There are like 25 ports to be built in Brazil in the last 5 years, the next 5 years. And then the last but not the least, which I believe it is the place to be, is the agriculture, ag businesses in Brazil. One, for you to have an idea, the price of just to give you one aspect, right? Today, the soy that Brazil produces, of course, has the same value of the soy that is produced anywhere else in the world, because there is Chicago who will trade the commodities, right? So there is a price for soybeans, right? There. So if you want to produce in Brazil, it will cost a little bit more because you have the freight from Brazil to whatever, okay? There is a cost. But at the same time, the price of the land in Brazil, you still buy a excellent soil hectare for $1,000 per hectare. That does not exist anymore. In the US, the average is $12,000. So you buy for $1,000 land that will produce the same products that is produced in the US. And pretty much, this could not be $1,000. Okay, maybe not 12,000, but because of the distance and everything, but could not be $1,000. And it is $1,000 because Brazil is going out of the largest recession that the country has ever had. And at the same time, the exchange rate is very favorable for US dollars, for foreigner currencies, right? So it's a no-brainer. I don't believe there is any investments like real asset investments that will deliver more returns than land in Brazil in the next year. I don't believe it.
So Caio, of the 4 sectors you have been in three and been successful in three. Is there a Caio Brazilian fund coming up soon? After your SERPRO project, maybe you could do a Caio fund
No,
to access.
honestly, I never thought about it because I'm not a manager. You understand? I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a kind of I like hands-on. I like doing businesses. I would have someone as a partner in some projects, yes, but I don't. Not necessarily talking about raising a fund to. At least not knowing. It's not in my.
Sure. Um, can you tell us what, I mean, SoftBank made a big splash last year. This is obviously pre-COVID and pre-WeWork and a bunch of blow-ups about really diving deep into your region. What's your view of that? Have you talked to them? Are they focused on Brazil? Are they focused on the areas that you're talking about? Are you guys working together?
No, they have many. They have many investments here. I know the guys that are running SoftBank in Brazil. Of course, very interesting company. I liked very much part of the investments that they did. Some of the companies I don't believe it, but I'm not always right. I just don't believe it. I don't want to mention them because it's not my, I don't want to talk about them. And one of our companies, which is a credit company, it's talking to them a lot because this company deserves more money to grow. And so we are talking to them. The managers are talking there. Very interesting company, a platform for credit. Imagine that you are, let's say, for example, eBay, right? You are eBay. As an eBay owner, you have information of what's going on inside eBay. So you can find the owners of the pages at eBay if you are eBay, but you are not in credit. You don't know, you're eBay, you don't know how to do credit. So this company, it's called Capitalis, has a platform that plugs to eBay and do the entire credit analysis, and many times raises money together with eBay to, give credits in that ecosystem. It's very interesting. It's a platform. It's a credit platform company.
Caio, I think Brazil is the 8th or 9th largest country in terms of GDP in the world, depending on how you count it. But I also read that Brazil is number 7 in terms of number of billionaires. Now, in places like in America and China, it used to be property that drives the number of billionaires. Now it's obviously technology. What does Brazil look like? And do you see and which of the tech companies could again become the future mega companies that will be sustaining and driving alongside your SERPRO project?
Well, Brazil, it's you have these things about it's the largest number of helicopters per capita in the world, things like that. You have like you've been to São Paulo, São Paulo. It's a crazy, huge, big city. You have a very restricted number of people, very filthy rich. And you have a population that, has struggles to sometimes to survive. It's the country is more violent than it should be. The country has social problems that we should have passed those problems many years ago if we knew how to get together and do things together. I think Brazilians have a problem of getting together and having civil engagement, we need that, let's do it. I don't think we're very good on that matter. So it's very hard. There are some very big technology companies 2.5, $3 billion companies. There are means of payments. You have some credit companies doing very well. You have operators like technology platforms for e-commerce, big ones. So you have, but it's never like the US, Israel, or China. You know, because it's different. But you have like huge farms, huge, like big companies in Brazil. Biggest operation of Bunge, for example, in the world is in Brazil. Cargill, huge in Brazil. Costco, Chinese company, huge in Brazil. Brazil has 4 very big and very profitable banks. The financial system is very sophisticated. We don't have all the instruments that that you have in the US or that you have in Canada, but it's getting there. It's getting there. The central bank is doing a great job in terms of deregulating the market. It's getting much better. Lots of fintechs, born every day. So I see that in the future, we can see it, but I don't see the environment being friendly to pure technology companies like you're mentioning. So I would expect billionaires to come from other places than technology in Brazil. I would expect billionaires to come from other sectors.
Gotcha. Okay. Maybe we'll step away from Brazil for a few minutes and really talk about investing, Caio. And what for our book, we think everyone's an investor. Currently, interviewing you, learning from you, I'm investing my time. I'm investing in my future by learning from you, and so are the audience and people that buy the book. And so this is not a Brazil question; it's more of a Caio investment question, right? I think Elon Musk is an investor because he invests his time to SpaceX or Tesla. So if you were to advise a family office manager or one of your children later on investing, what are some of the things that you've learned, guiding principles that made you so successful?
So I have I think my approach to investing is a little bit different from the average. I think I'm a risk taker. So I believe in certain things and I go after them. What I did when I first made money, I lost a lot of money just thinking that I was an investor, because I would go to the stock market and buy stocks and sell stocks, and at the end of 1 year, I just lost, I don't know, $2 million. Because I was doing the wrong thing. I don't know how to do that. Why should I try to be, because, it's not my business. I'm not every day there. So at a certain point, I decided that I was going to really separate kind of part of my money, just separate part of my money and make very conservative investments.
Okay.
Right? So I have some structure to save my money. So I cannot go there and get my money, because if I would take it and maybe invest in something else. So I protect my money in that sense. And that is very conservative. So I do funds, I don't expect high returns. The other part of the money that I have, which is the money that I live and the money that I invest, I pretty much consider that I don't have that money. That money is it's mine for me to believe in the things that I want to do. So it's it's more like people, I know it's hard for some people to understand, but I have lots of fun doing what I do.
Mhm.
Building companies, learning people, learning about people, learning about, a new business, going to the farms. I spent 2 years visiting all the farms that I had, which is beautiful, all over Brazil, beautiful places, getting to know beautiful people. So I kind of like to think that I use the money to make my life more rich and not to get richer. I, I would be very upset if I lose my money, of course, but I try not to do any more investments as I did in the past because I've learned lots of things doing it. So I don't believe in PowerPoints. I don't believe in business plan. I don't believe in blue oceans. I believe in people. Every time that I had a good person in front of a bad business, the business became good. Every time that I had a bad person in front of a great business, the business went down the tubes. So I believe that I have to find the right person,
Mm.
or the person has to become the right person to do some business and to work. And that's what I call a real entrepreneur, someone
Yeah.
who really wants to learn about that thing. He can't, it's something that comes from inside, he wants to change that sector. He wants to change that market. He wants to be someone who knows more than anyone else about agricultural credit. So he goes there, and that the type of person, business that I like to invest in.
Mm.
So what I'm trying to say is that I cannot, from a investor standpoint, I'm not I don't think I am like, I don't follow the rules. I'm very conservative with part of the money, and I'm very aggressive with the other part of the money. So it's a
No,
thing.
no, that makes sense. I think that makes a lot of sense. And again, it echoes a lot of what the super successful investors also say. Kyle, what was your biggest flop?
My
And what?
biggest failure.
Yeah,
Oh, I have many of them. I have many of them.
yeah.
I have one business that I did that I have a conference that I go to schools to make a presentation that it's called How to Make Success and Lose Money. Back in 2004, I decided that I had this idea about this animation show.
Mm-hmm.
And I pretty much bought a company of animation. I hired the people. I found someone who was very good, and I went all over the world with the animation shows. And I sold it to Japan. I sold to the U.S. I sold to Italy. I sold to the entire Latin America at Cartoon Network. But animation, you just make money when the thing is when kids adore it, when kids love it. If kids love it, you're gonna have the licensing, the merchandising, and then the merchandise will give you money. The animation itself doesn't give you money. So I lost a good like $3 million there in the business. So it was more than a flink, was a frustration because it was lovely. And it's interesting because it's 2004 and the entire animation is about a villain that wants to dominate the internet. And what he does is to produce fake news all over.
Interesting.
Very interesting, very interesting. But it was very nice. It was a, experience is what you get when you don't get what you wanted, right? So I wanted to make money and to make, to be successful. And the failure was pretty much my fault because I decided to do things in a way that I should not. Instead of going for, to protect my downside, I went to I went the entire upside. So in that way, I lost money.
Okay. Okay. So
I have,
for
I
the
have
one,
other. I have others, but that's a very
Yeah.
iconic.
So flipping that, there's a question from the audience saying, for each of your different career moves, and you've had many, what was the one key thing that made you, what key attribute that made you decide to go into, whether it's workforce or farming, or what was it one thing, if there's one, that you look for before you invested money and time into it?
Well, my nature, it's curiosity. I'm a very curious person. So I'm like
Yep.
I want to learn things. And so this is the motivation that keeps me moving and going from one thing to another thing to another thing. And many times remaining, because don't forget, I was from a copywriter advertising, I became an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
And as an entrepreneur, I'm digital, and then I became real estate. I still digital, I still real estate, and now I'm farming. You know, so it's I don't do things just to go from one thing to another thing. It's not my thing. Is to I don't know, maybe the accumulation of intellectual capital. Maybe this is one thing that drives me. Uh, but and the thing that I learned that really I think makes a difference for me in Brazil, because I don't know if I can do that in other places, but in Brazil, I know how to read people.
Mm.
I know I understand what's going on. I understand what is not written there, which is between the lines. I have partners. I'm not a one-man show. I have partners, but I have like 5 partners. And these 5 partners that I have, besides the people that are working in the companies, because I'm very generous with equity for people who works with me. I'm very generous. But my partners, they have been my partners for 25 years. So it's very, very rare and to have people in Brazil, in this environment, having the same partners for 25 years. Very difficult.
Yes.
Very
Yes. Anywhere. Yes.
Anyway, so maybe because we are very upfront about the things that we want, we are very good friends. We like each other. We talk a lot. We talk a lot together. Now I'm a little bit far because I'm here in Brasilia and working for the government, so I don't talk to them every day as I used to do. At this point, every one of us, we have different businesses, but we're still partners. And every time that I have some opportunity, I call my partner and say, listen, you wanna come in? No. Okay, don't come. It's like a conference.
Gotcha.
I would say that reading people is very important. Reading, understanding people, understanding.
Caio, you have built a lot of wealth. I'm sure you have a family office. I'm not sure if you manage that yourself or if you outsource that to professional managers. The world is a little crazy right now, right? You turn on the TV, you listen to Dalio, listen to Buffett, listen to anyone, and there's just a lot of shit going on that's scary. Again, this is not a Brazil question. For your family office portion, investing for your children and your grandchildren, how are you allocating that capital? This is not the part where you go and start another company. This is the part that you want to obviously earn returns. How are you allocating?
I'm always trying to do something between 6% and 8% in US dollars per year. That's what I do. Okay. Not more than that, because I don't want to take too much risks, because I consider that in my entire portfolio, I take too many risks here.
Understood.
So that's pretty much my goal. And I would say that I don't have a family office, but I have a family office because I don't have enough money to have a family office on my own. So I part of a group of, a manager.
Sort of a multi-family office, if you will. So there is a manager. And how are you allocating this for every $100 that you have?
I would say 70% in 70% in funds that give different returns. I do invest in Brazil. I do invest in the banks in Brazil. I do invest
Mhm.
in some companies in Latin America because they gave higher return and I know them. I'm not afraid to give money to Banco Itaú. It's okay for me. If they're paying, 5% a year, I know that they're not going to go broke. I know they're fine. Uh, and the rest is pretty much 30%, 35% goes through all over equity.
For example, that's still a lot.
Do you want me to name one company?
Oh no, no, I just more of a geography
Oh,
sector,
you,
asset type. I'm curious how you
I
put
don't
your
do
money.
equities in Brazil. I don't do equities in Brazil. I don't invest in companies in Brazil. I invest in companies pretty much in the U.S.
Okay,
and some of them in Europe.
so the
And
30%, the 30% is stock picks in non-Brazilian. You okay? And then the 70% in funds. Where do the funds invest? Is this a Latin American fund, a Brazilian fund, or is this
yeah, there are funds that they invest in currencies. There are funds that they invest in, yes, in Latin America. There are like debentures of Brazilian companies, debentures of Argentinian companies,
okay?
companies,
Okay,
companies that I know that who they are. I don't invest in China because I don't know. I don't know. I don't know enough. I'm
sure,
not,
sure.
yeah, go ahead.
And has this portfolio been consistent, or is it more conservative because of what you're seeing is happening in the world?
No, it's consistent. It's the way I asked my manager to do it. I always
Gotcha,
want
gotcha, gotcha. Okay, okay,
to
okay.
conserve.
Is your view, and you have a good view given your position, is your view that this quantitative easing happening in most parts of the world, I'm sure in Brazil as well, are we, what's your view about the global economy? And obviously the Brazilian, what's your, are you scared? Do you think this is a V shape? I'm just curious how you see it.
I believe there is a new business on the block, right? Because this is not going to stop like this. It's too
Mm,
much money, too much change, too much new things, and humanity will always explore. It doesn't matter what. Capital will always explore what is happening now, right? It's so. I don't need to tell you, but the digital is going to explode. Look at Zoom. We are using, think about it. Like
yeah,
3 months ago, Zoom. I knew it, but I don't know if everybody here knew. I knew by chance. Uh, uh, well, very hard to imagine what's going to happen. I think there is this technology of tracing, tracking people's behavior because of the COVID or the other, because I'm sure there will be one other in, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years. It's great business. People will keep, I believe it, that people, it's the way it is. I think certain industries, as you all know, will be like destroyed forever. Very hard to come back the way it was before. I mean, forever is too long, but and I believe that there will be there is something going on in the world, which is this international like populism of the right wing, and at the same time you have China for the first time, coming to the markets and telling to other countries, listen, why don't you look at my system? Maybe maybe democracy is not the right system. Maybe there is another system. Uh, so I see lots of turbulences coming and in the future.
mm, mm.
I, I don't see like we are calming down And well, allocation of capital, you know how the word is liquid, lots of money there. I believe there is something going on, which is capitalism and democracies are the best system besides all others, right? Like Churchill used to say. But at the same time, capitalism did not solve the problem of poverty. Lots of poor people in the world. So how now we have this, you know, this pandemic, and I believe that governments all over the world have proved that they are not able to deal with that kind of things. I don't see any, besides one or other example, maybe South Korea, maybe, you know, but I don't see good examples of good management of what happened. So maybe people are going to say, why are these governments taking care of us if they don't know what to do? So let me try to help people in another way. And at the same time, we are more at home with our families. And probably you look and say, why you had been with your family for like now 5 years that you had been like taking care of your kids and growing up with them and watching them. How many of us had this chance? How many? You know, so now maybe people working from home, they will have the chance to be closer to their families, which is probably very good. So I see lots of change, but I don't see, I don't see stability. I don't see stability. I see.
Hey, Kyle, I mentioned to you the last guest we had was a very, very smart lady called Kathy Xu. She runs a VC out of China. And if you Google Kathy Xu and Ray Dalio, she actually interviewed Ray Dalio. It was an interesting interview because towards the end, she kept insisting that Mr. Dalio become a politician and run the country. Right, and Ray kept saying, no, that's not me. And Kathy said, you should go and join government because you're the leader. It just occurred to me because I feel like Brazil needs somebody like you. So is there a future there for Kyle into politics?
Well, to be very honest, I never thought about it. Now that I'm here, what I see is that this country specifically, and I'm sure other countries as well, they need managers. This is a management problem. This is not a politics problem. The politics are the politics, right? But there's so many, the grass is so high. The grass is so high for a good manager to come here and do his job or her job, and at the end of the day, get results like this. But like this, just with best practices. I'm not a genius. It's just best practices. If you had study, if you know what you're doing, if you are diligent, if you want to do it, well, I think managers can really make a difference in government. I really would like to see like more mixed of government and, you know, managers. I think the U.S. have had always some of this. The U.S. always have some, you know, good people from the private sector going for a certain period to service for the country. I really believe this is good. Very good.
Okay. Kyle, I see you're still in the office. It's getting late for you. This has been a tremendous learning. I think, you know, a few things that I picked up, you know, Brazil is probably closer to China than America because it's so diverse, it's so big. It's got a number of different states. I learned that your 4 favorite sectors to invest in if one were to go into Brazil. And I learned that probably the next time we have a call, you would have announced your presidency candidacy or something to that effect. Because it sounds like your country needs you.
Okay. I will go to you for fundraising.
No, I think you do just fine by yourself. But yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kyle. Well,
I hope
once this COVID subsides, I would love to take up your offer again
please,
to visit your country.
please.
And I see a lot of people just thanking you for the very inspirational talk.
Yeah, I would like just to say one last
Mm-hmm.
word about Brazil. Please do not believe in everything that is written about Brazil in the international press. Our government is not doing a good job in communication at this point, but we are not that bad. We are. It's fine. We're gonna be fine. The Amazon, Brazil has a very strong commitment with the Amazon. We do not want to destroy the Amazon. We do not want to let the Amazon be destroyed. So our forest rules are very strict, and we are being very diligent in doing what we are supposed to do. Unfortunately, the subject is it's very important for everybody, because everybody feels, and I think it's true, that the Amazon, Brazilian takes care of the Amazon, but the Amazon belongs to everybody in the world. But honestly, I'm telling you, I know what's going on. I'm here together with the officials that they take care of this. And we are doing something very good regarding mapping, taking pictures, and in the probably next month and years, we're going to be able to show that different from what is said about Brazil, we are a good example of, developing the farming business and at the same time saving the forest. I want to say that because, my family who lives outside of Brazil, they call me and say, "Oh, what's going on?" And I say, "Listen, just please trust that
No.
it's not that bad."
No, thank you for that, Kyle. And I personally know less about Brazil than you know about China. And so in this age of TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter, we want to do long form. So this means hour-long, 2-hour interviews or podcasts, because it's conversations like this where we actually surface the truth and find out that there are people like you in Brazil, and it's not just what you see in the news, in the short news. So thank you, and as soon as COVID is good, we will see you in Brazil. Okay, Kyle.
Hi
right.
to the audience. Very nice to meet you, talk to you, and hopefully when you come to Brazil, you can have my contact with Ang and give me a ring. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. So thank you,
Bye.
Kyle. Have a good night. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for joining us. Please visit Wizards Institute to access the blog summary of today's session, to learn more about other speakers, and to network with other investment wizards. Wizards Institute, the #1 community to learn smart investing and financial freedom.